Hello everyone! Today I'm going to show you how I like to give maintenance on my green stalks to keep reusing them year after year and make sure they keep working properly. The green stalks come with a built-in watering system, and part of what we're doing today with this maintenance routine is just to check that this watering system is working properly, because it's one of the best features of these planters in my opinion, and one of the reasons why I had lots of success with them, because I've been growing with them for the past 4 years. So the first thing we want to do is to put down the planters, take them apart. So I have already done that with this one over here, and we are going to check the watering disc. So this is the disc that's part of the watering system, and this planter was brand new and set up this spring, and this is the first time that I'm taking it apart. So you can see that there's a little bit of debris in there, but not a lot, but I still like to clean it. So I like to do this about 2 times per year to check on these watering discs and make sure they're nice and clean so they don't get clogged and possibly just stop working for us during the season. Now Greenstalk have come up with a solution for this too, to avoid debris to get into this. They have made these lids, which I don't have for all of my planters, but I have for 2 of them. So if you place the lids in here, it will prevent debris from coming in and possibly going into the watering systems and clogging the holes. This is a top water reservoir that I mentioned that can get things clogged, and the ones here that I have the lid on, the reservoir looks pretty good and empty. So I'm working on maybe possibly getting some lids from my other green stalks too, but for now I'm just going to keep giving maintenance. Going back to the planter that I have it on the floor, I'm just going to collect these watering discs and rinse them to make sure that the holes are fully functional, so they're working well. So I'm just going to grab all of them and then grab my hose. So I just pulled my hose in here and I'm going to just rinse it. If your discs are very dirty, if they're a little older and you never really took them apart to give maintenance on them, or just got a little dirty through the season, which happens with some planters, I would just get a little sponge with biodegradable soap and then scrub it in here too. But this look pretty good, so I'm just going to rinse it out back and front. Make sure the holes are clogged, and then I like to add some water and hold it up to make sure that I see water coming through all the holes in here. Let me get closer so you guys can see. So this one, all 6 holes are good, so I'm just going to put right back in here. They're small holes because this is supposed to be a drip irrigation, so to drip slowly in there. And I'm just going to carry on and do the same thing with all of my other discs over here. Okay, so that's done. And step number 2 is, if you want to keep reusing your soil, which I do, I don't buy new soil every year for my green stalks. I like to also add a little bit of compost to feed my soil and help adding nutrients back to the planter year after year. So this planter here, I planted it with new soil this spring, but as you can see, a lot of the soil have already settled. That happens, so we can add a bit of compost to fill this back up, or also regular potting soil if you like, and with some fertilizer if you don't have compost in hand. I'm not going to add too much compost and fill up the whole thing, because I plan to do the same thing again on the spring. So now I still have some plants growing in my green stalks, and I hope that they can keep growing a little bit through the fall. So I'm going to add a little bit of compost, maybe an inch or so, less than that, just halfway through, and then let these plants grow. And in the spring I will do it again for my new crops next year. So even if you don't plan to plant any fall crops, I think it's still good to add some compost here in the fall. So you could wait until all of your plants die back and then take everything apart, wash things off. I like to do it a little earlier before it gets too cold, because it's hard to work with wet hands in the cold. Plus, if it gets really cold, many people have to shut down the water outside. That compost will just age to the fall, and then keep adding some nutrients too. If you have good rainfall like I have, you don't have to water the planters. If it gets really dry from where the place you are, maybe you would have to here and there water. You don't have to water from outside. Maybe you can get a bucket and just put in the water reservoir. That's what I do sometimes if you have a dry spell. But anyway, I really like to keep reusing the soil year after year. Soil is expensive, and I don't like the idea of replacing all the time. Plus, we can just keep building the health of the soil, building a good structure for things to keep growing. So another thing that I want to mention, once I'm cutting off my plants, I like to cut them to the bottom so I don't pull them out and take those roots. I hope you guys can see here, because the roots that live in there are also going to break down eventually and add back some organic matter to the soil and create some air pockets that oxygen can go through. So just a few things to consider. That those are the things that have been working for me, and now I am going to add a little bit of compost to amend this planter as well before I put them back up. Alright, everything is filled up and we're just going to put the planter back together now. I'm going to put the planter right here along this wall, and I'm going to be putting up on top of my spinner. So the first layer that I will be putting down will be this one, the rosemary. And just make sure that they get stacked properly when you're putting them back down, and all the pockets lock nicely. Here it is. We have our planter back up, and I'm going to water everything to help this compost settle. So I'm just going to rinse off some of the compost that came to the side and water the compost directly, just so it kind of settles in there and doesn't dry out. And I'll do this for a couple days until I get it all, everything planted, and after that I'll just resume and start watering through the water reservoir like I do usually. Okay, here we have it, our planter ready for this fall. If you have any questions about anything, please let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you next time.